Hi, you're listening to God, Ghosts, and Government, a weekly conversation with Senator Kim Jackson, where she'll reflect on her journey as an Episcopal priest, farmer, legislator, and much more. I'm your host, Sharitha J., and I'm honored to share this space with you. Let's begin. Hey, it's your girl Sharitha J., and we're back for another episode of God, Ghosts, and Government. Hey, Senator Jackson.
Sharitha J., how you doing?
I'm okay. It's something different about you. Like, I just can't quite place it.
Might have something to do with the little forehead that could be seen on the camera if you're watching the video.
Who was this?
Well, this is our newest little addition to our family. His name is Khalil Isaiah Markel, also known as Kim. And yeah, I call him Baby Kel. His granny calls him Markel. He's got a lot of names, but a lot of love too.
A lot of love. Well, welcome, Khalil. You're doing exactly what I would like to be doing right now, and which is taking a nap.
Yeah, he is out. That's I don't wanna disturb his nap. So if we're gonna get this done,
We gonna
we
this is
gonna do it.
well, this is a first. This is our first baby guest on God, Ghosts, and Government.
Yes, but
So,
who knows? If we stay along it, he might actually add some color to it with his cries. We'll see.
well, you know what? I don't know about all that because I have to do the audio. I don't know if I want too much color.
Fair enough.
Well, congratulations to you and Trina and your whole family, now family of four. Big brother Reese, congratulations to you all. We alluded to this happening. I think you kind of spoken into existence that that Khalil may make an early appearance. We joked about it, but here he is.
Yeah, he's a whole 4 weeks early. In fact, I think on the last pod, so we missed one because we had to go and get the baby. But on the
Hmm.
last pod that we recorded, I said, hopefully he won't come early because then I'd have to leave and stop doing the people's work. But I was like, but if I do have to leave, I think the people will be understanding for me, leaving. And sure enough, I did. I had to leave before Sunny died. I was in the middle of a session, the floor session, when we got the phone call that he'd been born and
Hmm.
dropped everything to drive up and go get him.
Well, here he is, and here you are, and being super mom and super senator because you made it back in time for Sunny die.
That's right. I made it back in time for Sunny die. I could have gone before then, but I was exhausted, man. We drove all the way to Indiana to get him and all the way back, and it was a whole lot of stuff. But in the meantime, I did get a bill passed. Ironically, I was not there for it. I think the bill passed. Signing that was on Thursday. I think the bill passed on Tuesday. I was not there because I was here with this little guy. So, the people's work still happened. Bills still got passed without me.
Excellent. And that is your SB 324
That's right.
um address confidentiality official. You are official.
I
Have
mean, we got to
passed.
get the governor to sign it, right?
Well,
But I trust that that will happen. So yeah, we have a bill passed. It's really actually quite exciting, and it's a really good bill that provides protections for people who otherwise would be unprotected. So um,
right.
yeah, it's good news all around. Good news for my house. Good news for other households in Georgia. We're doing great.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. So, well, let's get into it because we don't want to disturb too much of this nap that's happening, and we want mom to get some rest too. So, tell us about Sunny Die. I mean, clearly you're getting plenty of sleep. So clearly you didn't stay up all night for Sunny Die, did you?
Why? Yes, I did. And this year, actually, so Signy Die, it's supposed to end at midnight, right? Like that has been kind of the long-standing tradition until we didn't. We did not gavel out Sine Die until 12:45 a.m. And yes, I was there the whole time. I was awake. In fact, there's a video of me at like 12:40 asking questions of somebody in the well with a bit of an attitude actually, because it
Mm.
was 12:40 at night and he was trying to mess up some stuff. But yeah, no, I stuck it out. I stuck out the whole day.
Wow. Wow. So let's get into the highlights. What took place, typically I like to lead with the food. That's usually the highlight for me. But I mean, Khalil has already stolen the show with that. The food falls far down the list. So what took place on Sunny Day this year? I mean, we had some things that we knew we were kind of going into closing out session with, but give us a insider's view from your perspective.
Yeah, so Sine Die actually started out really slow. We gavelled in at 10 o'clock, but we did not do any business, like actual bills, until probably 12:30, which is a long, long delay. Um, but I think meanwhile, while we were delaying, people were kind of working out those last backroom deals to see, could we get sports betting across the line? Could not get
Mm-hmm.
it across the finish line. I think in the House, they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do with things like RIFRA, which,
Mm-hmm.
passed the Senate a while ago, did not get out of the House. So that's great news.
Right.
We sent out another bill that was a cultural war bill around puberty blockers and whether or not we would allow access for minors to have access to puberty blockers. We debated that for probably an hour and a half on Sunny
Mm-hmm.
Day, passed out of the Senate on party lines, as one would expect, but didn't make it out of the House. So a lot of I'm like telling all the things that like came out of the Senate but stopped in the House, came out of the Senate, stopped in the House. I think we tried like again some other like maneuvers and tactics to try to get Medicaid expansion. The
Mm-hmm.
Senate, we got the closest that we've ever gotten for the first time in over 10 years. We actually got a hearing on Medicaid expansion, which is huge, but still couldn't get across the line. So those are the things that didn't pass. Things that did pass, there was a voter bill that was quite substantial in its length, and it's not a good voter bill. It was passed, I think, probably at 12:30 at night, and it just continues to
Who's
quote shore up our election process, but we already know our elections are safe and secure, so it really just continues to muck up the waters. But
mm-hmm.
that did actually pass both the House and the Senate as well.
Mm. My question is, who's in their right mind at 12:30 a.m., to vote? I mean, and after a day of being under the gold dome and listening to and voting on legislation at 12:30, I mean, your goats can walk onto the floor and cast, but just hey, please
I
press
mean,
the
here's the
button.
thing. At that point, we're no longer reading everything that's coming to us, right? So things are coming from the House. They're being printed, thrown on our desk. Like the young people are just like literally throwing papers onto our desk. Here, here, here. I think it's madness. It really is madness. And
I
as the chief deputy whip, I'm sitting there at my desk. I actually sit down, and the whip is next to me on the right side, and he's kind of helping the whip votes while I'm like ferociously reading to find like, is this bad? Is this horrible? Like, what's in here? To try to like keep up with what's happening. I will say, I got my second wind around like 10 o'clock at night, which was really an ideal time to catch that second wind or third or fourth wind, because that's when the extra stuff came. And I'm pretty proud of like how on it I was. I was able to stop some things. Like I just reached out to one of my colleagues who sits in front of me. His last name is Dolezal. And I was like, Dolezal, you see this amendment? Why you want this amendment? It's gonna kill your bill. Why you letting them kill your bill? And he leaned over to his colleague and was like, yo, can you withdraw your amendment? I was like, yes,
yes,
that's right.
okay.
Because that was a horrible amendment. It would have been really, really bad. And he was like, yeah, stand down, stand down. So it's craziness. The last bill that we voted on was a hemp bill. Now, I've been working on hemp for a long time, right? I
Right.
mean, a long time. That hemp bill landed on our desk, got called up for a vote. I actually kind of really pushed for us to vote because there was a senator who tried to amend it, which if you amend something at 12:40 at night, that means you're killing it. Like it's gonna kill the bill because it can't get back to the House for the House to approve the amendment, right? And so I
Mm-hmm.
called him out for that, and I was like, "Isn't it true that if you amend this bill, if we allow this amendment to pass, that you are killing the bill and stopping years and years of work on, on hemp?" That amendment died. Like I had like 40 votes. It was crazy how much I defeated him at 12:40 at night. And it's all because it's like he and I are the only ones awake at this point. So then it's Sessler who's trying to get his amendment and me who's trying to stop it. Man, we defeated that thing hard, got hemp passed, and then I get an email at 3 o'clock in the morning from an advocate around hemp, and she's like, "Hey, did you read that hemp bill? Do you know that it's a combination of this bill and that bill?" And I was like, "Girl, I had no idea. All I
Well,
know is it said hemp," and I flipped through it, said hemp, and I was like, we need a hemp bill, so we're gonna get it through. So yeah, it's a lot of insanity. We don't know what we always doing, but we hope there's safeguards in place somewhere that stop madness. And ultimately, the governor is the ultimate safeguard because he has 40 days, so he has time for his
mm-hmm.
staff to really read through, and they'll veto anything that's like absolutely horrific and like totally horrific from at least a Republican perspective. I'm sure there's stuff that we'll get through that as a Dem, we will find offensive, but there
Mm-hmm.
is one final backstop that's not happening at 12:30 in the morning.
Were you able, I know in previous sessions, it started out with the Fab Four, then you guys made your way to the Mag set is the Mag Seven, the Magnificent
Yeah,
Seven. Were
yeah.
you able to build off that energy this week to kind of work through legislation ahead of time? Um,
Yeah, I am so proud of the Mag 7, and we've actually opened it up to the entire caucus. So I did, Trina and I went and got the baby on a Wednesday night before, so like almost a week before Sine Die. And then I took time off. I did not return to the Capitol until Sine Die. So a lot of the kind of background work that I would do around getting the Mag 7 organized, my chief of staff, Erin, she did it along with the minority leaders, chief of staff. I got to shout out the minority leader who did retire, Gloria Butler, but her chief of staff, Ross. And I will tell you on like Wednesday, so Sunday night was Thursday, right? On Wednesday, there was a message that went out and it was like a link to the spreadsheet. And
Ooh.
I was like, my little heart, I was sitting there and I was just like holding the baby or whatever. And I see the spreadsheet come up and I'm just like, oh my gosh, the tradition continues. And sure enough, just like the Mag Four, like the Fabulous Four, like we've done in the past, we always had a spreadsheet for Saturday night. The Mag 7, they pulled out their spreadsheet and all
Mm-hmm.
night long, I had that spreadsheet to reference. It's the first time, I will say, like it's the first time in 4 years that I haven't been a part of that prep. But because we have
Wow.
such a great team, the prep still happen and I could trust them, right? Like when I sat down on the floor on Sine Die, having read virtually none of the bills because I
Mm-hmm.
was with the little one, I had this spreadsheet where I knew that my colleagues, my trusted colleagues who have similar principles and values that I do, that they've read it and that if they'd marked it red, it's going to be a red bill. If they marked it green, I'm gonna go green. And so it was really beautiful and seamless, and it allowed me actually freed me up to really be able to read the new stuff that was landing on our desk, right? Like
Mm,
when new stuff landed on our desk, I'm like, they've already done all the other work, the behind the scenes. It's my turn to put in the work and figure out what's on my desk in terms of new stuff. And so that's what I spent the night doing, and it really worked out. It was just we cheered at night, like at 2:30 at night. We got together in my office in the Mag 7. We did a salute to one another, but also to a future in which we are the Magnificent 23. That is our ultimate
wow.
goal, is to go from a small
Wow.
caucus within a larger caucus to being a full caucus that does all this work together. So super exciting.
Brilliant.
We're looking forward to a future where everybody is a part of this kind of larger group that's working together to really have everybody prepared.
Excellent. Well, Senator Jackson, besides this beautiful baby boy, Did anything surprise you? Did anything else surprise you? For Sunny Die and closing out this year's session, was there any sort of legislation that you just I won't say you weren't prepared for, but
Mm.
were there any surprises on your end?
Yeah, I think that the House has typically been the backstop for a lot of bad bills in the past, and I had hoped that the House would stop a really bad immigration bill,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't. I think that they moderated it a bit, but I think it's like 1104, 1107. I'm close to the numbers. It's definitely got 11 and a zero. That's three out of four numbers.
I
Count that as a
think it's
win.
1107 that you're
Um,
referring to.
but so it's an anti-immigration bill, anti-immigrant bill that was introduced before Laken Riley was killed, but really in response
Mm-hmm.
to her murder. And I mean, it's not a good bill. It's a bad bill. It's going to be hard on sheriffs to actually enforce it because, I mean, it basically says like, yo, if you suspect that somebody's an immigrant, you have to run them through ICE and wait for ICE to respond, right? Like I mean, it's racist on its face in many ways because how do you suspect that somebody is an immigrant?
Right.
you know?
Right.
So I had hoped and I really had expected and anticipated the House to be the backstop on that, and they didn't. They passed that bill
Mm-hmm.
on party lines, and so that was disappointing. Um, I I think also I was struck by how little work we got done on Sine Die.
Mm.
That was actually a really big surprise to me. Like I'm used to, Sine Die, we eat well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we take breaks for eating, but typically on Sunny Die, we like moving through.
Yeah,
We be passing bills left and right. The house is passing bills. The house took a 2-hour dinner break.
2 hours?
2 hours
Wow.
on Sunny Die. I,
It,
again,
do you have any ideas why it was so slow?
the slower it is, the fewer bills you pass,
Right.
right? And it also means that you can just say, like the lieutenant governor can just be like, yeah, man, we just didn't get to it. Instead of having, like, to have to, like, man up and have the spine to say, "I didn't like your bill," he could just say to his House colleagues, "Yeah, I'm sorry,
Didn't,
time ran out."
didn't get to it.
And the same thing on the House side, like, "I'm sorry, dude, time ran out." So,
Mm.
it was slower than it has been in years past, and it was, like, intentionally slowed down in a way that was surprising and disappointing, right? I had another bill I was trying to pass 2 bills, Sharitha. I was trying
Mm-hmm.
so hard. I slipped my internationally trained doctor's bill.
Which is a
I
great
sl
bill.
It's a great bill, right? 529. I slipped that into another bill in the House, and it passed the House unanimously at
Mm.
like 10:30 at night. It's like I don't know, a 50-page bill, and the last 2 pages are my bills just kinda like right there on the end. I feel like I was winning, man. I'm like, I am playing the game because I've never had a real hearing on that
Yeah.
actual bill. Like we've always done it kinda quietly on the back end, so nobody was really
Mm-hmm.
got out of the house unanimously, and so it's like 10:30, and I'm like, come on, y'all,
Like you
send it
can
back,
do
bring it
it.
back to the Senate, bring it back to the Senate, bring it back.
They
It
couldn't.
didn't make it back. Didn't make it back. But so actually wasn't surprised that it didn't make it back, but I was really hopeful that it would make it back. And I was really excited to be able to play the game. I felt like I was for the first time in 4 years really, really playing the game in the chess-like way that it's designed because I've
Mm-hmm.
had this bill that, we've kind of slipped in. It has never been dead. Despite it only died when we rung Sine Die. Crossover was not a deadline at all for that bill, and I felt so proud of that.
Yeah.
And we'll come back next year and try again, right? But these things are exciting. It's wild. There's no guardrails. The rules aren't fair, but I was glad to
Yeah.
be able to play in the arena.
Well, two things. Well, one, I want to say, speaking of, playing the game, did you get to participate in the kickball game? Oh,
No, I
oh,
didn't. You know why? I was
Why?
stuck in a committee getting my doctor bill snuck onto another bill in the Senate.
So you were doing the work? Is it?
I was doing the people's work instead of playing the game. But the Senate won. The Senate won. We brought home the
Okay.
trophy. But yes,
Okay.
sadly, I did not make the kickball game. Very sadly.
Okay. Okay. Well, my follow-up to that, and it's just thinking about, this is year four, and we've come a long way. Certainly, didn't you weren't holding a baby when we started this journey, clearly 4 years ago. Just where are you now? Like we're closing out, we made it to signing dad. We've talked about, how it works and all those things. Last year, legislative session, night and day compared to this one. Just where are you now on this journey? As you, what I like to name, closing out a successful session this year. I'd certainly like to say you are winning. We're going to acknowledge the wins.
Oh,
Um,
thank
so,
you.
so both look personally, professionally, all of that. So where are we now?
Yeah, it's been a wonderful 4 years. It's been hard and difficult at times, but I've learned a lot. And, I did make the decision to go back on the ballot one more time. I have an opponent in the primary and in the general, so we'll kind of address that and raise some money and try to make sure that voters know who I am. But,
Mhm.
I feel like I know how to do the job now in a way that I just didn't know even a year ago.
Mhm.
And I'm excited to be able to go back, if the people will allow me, to go back next year and really truly represent District 41 in a whole new way. Right? I had significant budget wins this year. There is a early learning center in Clarkson that received a $250,000 cash infusion to help them build out more infrastructure for their pre-K program. Right here in Clarkston, there's another $200,000 that went to Side by Side, which is a program that protects or helps to care for people with traumatic brain injuries, and
Mhm.
another 75,000 for this little nonprofit called Lecotech that is a
Mhm.
play library or a toy library for children with special needs, that's located right in the heart of Tucker, right? So I have like significant budget wins, and I feel like I figured out the little magic combination to how to do that, and so I look forward to
Mhm.
next year doing it again and bring more money home for the district. And also like I'm ready to embrace the leadership that I've felt being cultivated. I'll announce here, nobody will be surprised by this. I will be running for whip in the next session if I'm reelected, and so I'm hoping to get promoted from chief deputy whip to whip so that we can really continue to build on the Magnificent Seven, the legacy that we've really created in the last four
Mhm.
years. So I'm excited. Like, it's my life is so very different than it was 4 years ago. I've got two kids, um, you know, and a whole church staff that is, doing so much more of the heavy lifting now because I am deeper into the Senate, and and it just feels really good. People are always asking me like, "What's next for you?" Well, next is me just doing this really well, and
Oh,
I'm really excited to continue to be able to do this really well. And I have to say that Khalil is nodding his head in agreement. This is exciting.
well, that's all the affirmation we need in this moment, unless your goats have something to say about this.
My goats they're okay. My goats are probably less happy. All this time, my goats have always been very well loved and very well cared for.
Mm-hmm.
But having a newborn has made that a
Mm,
challenge. So they're
mm,
not getting the same amount of pets and cuddles that they're used to.
mm.
but
Well,
they'll adjust.
we
They'll adjust.
of course, but maybe we can do something about that and have a day where folks can come over and show a little extra love to the ghosts. But
Yeah.
sometimes your ghosts are a little antisocial. I don't know if it's joy. It's I
Just
can't.
just one or two of them. Most of them are very sociable. I saw Reese out there yesterday. He was wrangling them. got his
Okay.
fingers under their collar like Tennessee. And Tennessee weighs like 20 more pounds than he does.
Oh my goodness.
But like he was to the gate and he's like, "Come on, Tennessee." And I'm just like, this little boy has come so far because
So
9 months
far.
ago when he came to our house, he was terrified of those animals. And now to see
Hmm.
him out there wrangling them, moving them around, feeding them, speaking in a way that people can understand him, like
Yeah.
he baby boy has come so far. So the goats are being taken care of. Just it's just different.
Just different. Well, I think this is a good place to stick a pin in it to honor your time as you have successfully closed out another session. And even though you are, we always say this, you close out the session, but the work continues. Like
That's
that's the
right.
part that I really want to drive home that it doesn't stop because the legislative session is over. This is really where the work continues or really where you have to dig in because it'll be time to vote
In May.
in
Yeah.
May before you know it. So we're going to honor your time. We'll come back. I don't know when, but we will. But I just again, congratulations to you, your
Thank
family. I'm looking forward to whatever this journey is that you're on, and I know that not only is District 41 better for you being in it, but Georgians are better for you being under the
mm.
Gold Dome and doing the work that you're doing. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sharitha. And if you'll just allow me, I'd like to just give a list of quick thank yous to so many folks
Absolutely.
who have helped to make this pod possible, to make my
Mhm.
life possible. Beginning, of course, with Trina, who
Mhm.
said yes to this adventure of me running for office some 5 years ago, and really, truly believed in the dream that I had, and has continued to support me and she said yes to Reese, and then said yes to Khalil. Trina said yes before I could even really wrap my head around the idea of having a newborn. It was her, and so just want to give a shout out and thanks to my wife, also to my staff, to my chief of staff, Erin Castle.
Mhm.
She held it down. Every speech that I did this year from the well, every single speech was written. At least the framework of it, the bones of it were put together by Erin. Tina, who is always the light of the office, who makes sure that it's a welcoming and safe space. Just so much gratitude to her. To my friends from college and high school and all these different walks of life who text me because they're listening to the pod. Um, and I think I had a friend who found out that we were going to be having a baby through the pod because I hadn't had a chance to tell her that was going to be happening. So shout out to them. It's great to have faithful listeners who are dedicated to ask questions. To my constituents who trusted me. Somebody asked a while ago. I was at Agnes Scott, in fact, the young woman asked, like, how did you know that you could run for office? And the fact is, I didn't. I didn't know
Mhm.
that it would work out. I didn't know that the people of District 41 would vote for an out Black lesbian with locks. And they did, and they continue to do so. And so much gratitude to the people of District 41. Um, and then to all of our super volunteers who work behind the scenes they watch committee meetings, they made notes, they sent us, intel about how we could make our speeches better, how we could be better prepared, the questions that we needed to ask. Um, and finally, to the folks with Domestic Violence Coalition,
Mhm.
the people who are the people behind the bill that we were able to pass. Those advocates, the women who shared their stories about needing to have their addresses protected, and to the women, especially Karima and Christina, who used all of the political capital that they have to get that bill across the finish line. My name is on it, but in fact, this bill it's a coalition for against domestic violence bill, and I am so grateful that they chose me to be the carrier of it, and so grateful for all of the ways that they've transformed and saved lives, and I'm grateful that we can continue to do that work together.
So much gratitude for the path forward and looking forward to wherever this journey continues to take us. Senator Jackson, as always, It is my great honor. And to our listeners, you have been listening to another fantastic episode of God, Goats, and Government.
Until next time, you guys, continue to listen to old pods and know that we'll be back for another season later on. Take care and blessings to all of you. And hello from our little guy. Bye, guys.